Mr. Chasline, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, if a member is opposed to a resolution such as honoring a famed abortionist in the state of Texas on the congratulatory or memorial resolutions calendar, is there a procedure under the House rules to consider that resolution separately?
No, there is not.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chasline, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Would it be in order to divide the question and consider each resolution individually?
No, it is not.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chasline, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
The House rules allow for a motion to vote on measures section by section. Does that rule apply to a resolutions calendar?
It does not.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chasline, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
For purposes of the House rules and under House precedent, does this mean that no congratulatory or memorial calendar is considered divisible by the chair?
That is correct.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chasline, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
If a member of this body or group of members strongly objects, which we do, to a resolution placed on the congratulatory or memorial calendar, is our only recourse to vote against the entire calendar, thus sacrificing the rest of the good resolutions that are on the calendar?
Mr. Chasline, that is one option. You may also record an individual registration of no with the journal clerk.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chasline, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it true, though, that the majority of the body or every Republican in the Texas House, if they were to register a no vote, that resolution would still pass?
The journal clerk cannot accept more than a majority of no votes.
So, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chasline, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
So are you saying that if every Republican goes and registers a no vote on that resolution, then it would not pass?
That is not what I said. The journal clerk cannot accept more than a majority of no votes.
Okay. Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Chasline, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Will the members of this body have the opportunity to speak against the resolution?
No.
Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Chasline, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
So it is the only way we can actually kill this horrific resolution is to vote down the resolutions calendar.
That is your choice, Mr. Chasline.
Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
I move to postpone the consideration of today's memorial resolutions calendar until July 15th.
You are not recognized for that motion at this time.
Okay. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chasline, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
There's no possible way that any one of our members can come and speak against recognizing an abortionist on the Texas House floor today?
That is not a proper parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Chasline. Mr. Harrison, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
A couple times in your responses to Representative Chasline's questions, you said, I believe it was twice, that the House clerk cannot record more than a majority of noes to be registered in the journal. Where is that prohibition found in the House rules?
The resolutions on the resolution calendar are adopted by a special procedure, and they're adopted by a single motion.
I don't know where that would be found. Can you tell me what rule, number, section, and subsection provides for that prohibition?
Rule 6, Section 12.
Mr. Speaker, while my colleagues and I are
Mr.
looking...
Harrison, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr.
State your
Speaker.
inquiry.
While my colleagues and I are looking up that provision that you just referenced, what would happen should a majority or a majority plus one members of this body attempt to register a no vote with the clerk?
Once we get past a majority, they will be recorded as statements in the journal.
So are you saying that it's your position that you would deny the 77th
Mr.
Republican a chance to...
Mr. Harrison, that's not what I said. What I said was a statement of fact, that the journal clerk will accept up to a majority, and after that, they'll be recorded as statements in the journal.
And I'm asking for clarification on that, Mr. Speaker. Is that what would happen? What would happen after the 76th Republican went up to register?
They would be recorded as
I know you're
statements.
saying that they can put a statement, but they would be denied an opportunity to register a no.
Not what I said. I said as a matter of fact, they would be recorded as statements in the journal.
Right, but is it not also correct that what you are saying is they would in fact be denied an opportunity to
Mr.
register a
Harrison,
no?
that's not what I said. They would be recorded as statements in the journal after that.
Mr. Speaker, I understand that is what you said, but I'm asking, is the implication of your statement that they would in fact be denied? The 77th Republican would be denied an opportunity to register a no against honoring Planned Parenthood. Is that not the implication of your statement?
Mr. Harrison, that is not a proper parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Harrison, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr.
State
Speaker.
your inquiry.
As who is ultimately responsible for what comes to the body and ends up on a calendar for any individual day in this chamber?
Mr. Harrison, that is not a statement, a proper parliamentary inquiry.
I think it's a completely proper parliamentary inquiry. I am asking how we conduct the business of the House today. And I'll rephrase it, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Harrison, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
As the presiding officer, do not the House rules vest in you the authority to control the conduct and the time and the manner and place in which we take up and consider various motions, bills, resolutions? Do the House rules not vest that authority in you as the presiding officer?
Mr. Harrison, the House rules contain specific procedures for the setting of calendars by the House.
They absolutely do. But it is the ultimate responsibility for the adjudication of that process and make sure that process flows according to the House rules. Does that authority not reside with you as the presiding officer?
Mr. Harrison, your question has been asked and answered. There are specific rules that dictate how calendars are set.
And you are not denying that you are in fact responsible for Planned Parenthood being honored today on today's calendar. It's an outrage.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Little, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
So, Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Rule 6, Section 11, I'm given to understand that the only way that the resolution honoring Cecile Richards could have made its way onto the congratulatory and memorial calendar is if a majority of the membership of the Committee on Resolutions calendar so adopts it. Is that accurate?
Mr. Little, that is accurate.
How can we find out which members of the Memorial and Resolutions Committee, let me start over. How can we determine or find out which members of the Committee on Resolutions calendars voted in favor of placing a resolution honoring Cecile Richards on the calendar? Is there a record vote?
Mr. Little, there are committee minutes which you can reference.
And I'm given to understand that
Mr. Little, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
And the minutes for the House Committee on Local and Consent calendars records those votes determining which resolutions go on that calendar. Is that accurate?
Mr. Little, that is accurate.
And Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Little, for what purpose?
parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Once the members of the Committee on Local and Consent calendars elect to place certain resolutions on that calendar, is there anything that a member of this body can do to remove it once it has been placed there?
Ms. Little, there is not.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Ms. Luther, for
Mr.
what
Speaker,
purpose?
parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is there a way that we could get a record vote of how many people have filled out that form against a certain resolution?
Ms. Luther, that will be printed in the journal.
So there's no parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
So has it ever in the past been where you have looked at the votes and gave us a vote count so we can see if it is actually the Republican majority?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Are we going to kill it? Are we going to kill it?
Yes. Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Money, for what purpose?
point of information, Mr. Speaker.
State your point of information.
Mr. Speaker, it's my understanding that this bill, since the people were asking about it, the House Committee on Local and Consent Calendars, which is presided over by Chairman Jared Patterson, voted this out, and Representative Berry moved to place these measures on the congratulatory and memorial resolutions calendar, House Resolution 236 honoring Cecile Richards, and that the following members.
That is not a proper parliamentary inquiry.
Oh, it was a point of information, Mr. Speaker. Is it not?
Sorry, Mr. Money, the rules do not authorize points of information.
Oh.
Mr. Money, for what purpose?
Then I'm finished, Mr. Speaker. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Mr. Harrison, for what purpose?
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
I'll phrase this as a question. Which committee has jurisdiction over the resolutions calendars now? Because my understanding is there's been a recent move to move it under a different committee.
The Local and Consent Calendars Committee.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Harrison, for what purpose?
point of parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Who is the chairman of the Local and Consent Calendars Committee?
Mr. Harrison, that is not a proper parliamentary inquiry.
It is Representative Jared Patterson. Parliamentary inquiry, was you
Mr. Harrison,
as
for
the
what
speaker?
purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Do the House rules stipulate that you, as the presiding officer and speaker, appoint the chairman of all House committees?
The chair does not respond to parliamentary inquiries related to general House procedure.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Harrison, state your parliamentary inquiry.
Do you, as Speaker, believe it's appropriate that on Easter weekend we are honoring Cecile Richards, former president of Planned Parenthood?
That is not a proper parliamentary inquiry. Mr. Harrison, for what purpose?
Is there anything in the House rules that is prohibiting you from answering my last question?
Mr. Harrison, that is not a proper parliamentary inquiry.
You could answer the question if you wanted to.
Mr. Speaker,
Stop for what purpose?
parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Would it be a reasonable request to have a personal privilege speech at this time?
You can bring your request down front.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Harrison, for what purpose?
I move to reduce to writing and place in the journal all the remarks of the previous dialogue.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there any objection? Chair is none so ordered.
Mr. Speaker. Sorry.
Mr. Little, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, not having been familiar with this rule before, I look at Rule 6, Section 12, and I question whether the chair has the ability to withdraw this resolution honoring Cecile Richards from further consideration. It appears to me that if it develops that any resolution on the congratulatory and memorial calendar does not belong on that calendar, the chair shall withdraw the resolution from further consideration, remove it from the calendar, and refer it to the appropriate calendars committee for placement on the proper calendar.
Mr. Little, the committee had jurisdiction over the resolution.
And
It is a memorial resolution.
parliamentary inquiry?
State your inquiry.
I understand, Mr. Speaker, that the committee did in fact have jurisdiction over it and voted on it, but isn't it correct that if you, the chair, find that this resolution should not be on the calendar, that you have the authority to remove it for whatever reason you like?
Mr. Little, I have responded to your inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Dale, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it standard procedure to honor people who have killed millions of unborn babies?
So that is not a proper parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The chair lays before the House the following memorial resolutions. The clerk will read the resolutions.
H.R. 6 by Morales of Harris, honoring the construction workers who died in the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, Maryland on March 26, 2024. H.R. 17 by Raymond Corey Corporate. H.R. 18 by Cole Dr. Charles Eugene Erdy. H.R. 49 by Cole Ena Glassberg. H.R. 170 by Hopper Jill Glover. H.R. 236 by Howard Cecile Richards. H.R. 247 by Morales Shaw, U.S. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. H.R. 275 by Jones of Harris, Judge Zinina Burney. H.R. 355 by Busey, William Everett Brandon Jr. H.R. 356 by Busey, Jennifer Joy Mattingly. H.R. 364 by Collier, retired Judge Clifford Davis. H.R. 672 by Dayala, George William Strake Jr. and Annetta Day Walt Strake. H.R. 690 by Louderback, Sister Amelia Ehlers. H.R. 755 by Button, Janice Watson Cullum. H.R. 756 by Button, George Cullum III. H.R. 759 by Guillen, Dr. William Peter Kulspear Jr. H.R. 762 by Harless Eugene Frank Zabrowski. H.R. 763 by Moody Sharon Cole Shea Sugar. H.R. 781 by Lujan Cameron Celeste Jacobson. H.R. 785 by Howard, former state comptroller, and Austin Mayor Carol Keaton.
The chair recognizes Mr. Guerin for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Members, I move to adopt the memorial resolutions read by the clerk.
The chair recognizes Mr. Hopper to speak against the motion.
Members, today you are being asked to approve a resolutions calendar which honors Cecile Richards, the former leader of an organization that advocated, marketed, and executed abortions that resulted in the deaths of millions of Americans over more than a decade. In just 1 year, from 2022 to 2023, the lives of nearly 400,000 Americans were brutally brought to an end. I do not believe that I am wrong, that the vast majority of this chamber is vocally and philosophically opposed to this practice in general and to this woman in particular. And yet, in a highly coincidental turn of events, this chamber has also chosen to honor the life of former state Republican committeewoman Jill Glover, who in stark contrast fought at all times for life and for eternal truth. Many members were touched by her kindness and wisdom, and a number of members are here because of Jill Glover. It is an affront to the dignity of this chamber, to the values that are exemplified by the laws in the state, and to the sensibilities of the vast majority of Texans that we would even suggest that this chamber honor Richards. But it is beyond comprehension that we would ask that by approving a resolution honoring the life of Jill Glover, that by that vote they would also be honoring Richards. Many of y'all, especially freshmen like me, might believe that it is possible to register a no vote for a particular resolution after the fact. But even if every single one of us registered a no vote on a particular resolution, that resolution would still have been passed by this body if we approved the calendar. Members, if you vote today for this calendar, you are voting to honor a woman who is largely responsible for the extermination of millions of young Americans. I believe that if Jill Glover was with us today, she would never ask you to vote for this calendar to honor her memory. Today, I suggest to you that this is Jill's last victory in the name of life over death. I ask that all Republicans vote no on this calendar.
The chair recognizes Mr. Romero to speak in favor of the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I promise you, you won't see me up here speaking for or against very often, and I hope that when I do, I can have a little bit of impact on you. And while I respect tremendously what Representative Hopper discussed in terms of Jill Glover, I didn't know Ms. Glover, and I'm sure maybe many of you did. Maybe her life did have an impact on you, and maybe that is why you're here. And I respect that. I had a great conversation with Representative Money yesterday. He sits right behind me. I turn around and talk to him quite often. I think that we've actually made a bond over the last couple of days. I told him that one of the things that I really dislike about being in political life is that so many times as Democrats or Republicans, we start out by saying, you know, Ramon, I think that you and I, we're not going to agree on just about everything. We're going to disagree on a lot of things. And I say, how do you know that? I bet if we got to know each other first, you might actually take that back. And the only way we're going to know that is if we get to know each other. If we keep turning around and keep having conversations. And if we disagree, as I told him, hopefully it's on a golf course. Or we can just go on to the next hole. You know, we don't have to agree. But if somebody meant something to you or to me, the tradition of this house is that we honor those persons, whether we agree with that person's life or not. I thought that I was going to come up here and talk about the congratulatory and the memorial calendar, and I had a congratulatory, and thank y'all for approving that, on Cesar Chavez. I had a resolution that I wanted to present earlier and suspend the rules, but that wasn't allowed because some people don't want to honor Cesar Chavez anymore. My dad was a farm worker, 1961. I moved all around this country as a bracero, answering the call when this country needed him. It was a hard life moving around 45 days at a time. And I would have loved to have been able to honor Cesar Chavez. This isn't about my resolution. Heck, one of the best things on that congratulatory calendar, I'll tell you, is Cristina Morales's congratulatory edition, which is honoring Mexican Mother's Day on May the 10th. On this calendar as well, Sheila Jackson Lee. Oh, Houston. I can't imagine what it'd be like to be a black young lady in Houston and having Sheila Jackson Lee to look up to. Representative Collier has Judge Clifford Davis of Arlington. He assisted Thurgood Marshall in Brown versus the Board of Education. We've talked a lot about that in the past couple of days. 101 years of life. Imagine what an inspirational figure he was to black boys and girls, not only in Texas, but in this whole country. As a matter of fact, I just walked over to talk to Representative Collier, and I just learned today that he swore her in when she became a lawyer. It's about her memory, too. On that congratulatory calendar, which some of y'all were ready to do away with, that is that man right there, Sam Houston. I bet you didn't think about that when you were ready to just do away with both. I'm not going to dishonor his memory. I'm proud as heck to be a Texan. This is about tradition. This is about courage. This is about doing the right thing right now. Don't be scared. The Texan I know, that guy right there, do you think he was scared? There was no fear in him. When I said one of my favorite on the congratulatory calendar, and this is about tradition, every Mother's Day on May 10th, I call my mom. Early in the morning. And I say, estas son las mañanitas que cantaba el rey David, y por ser el día de tu santo, te las cantamos a ti. Despierta, mi bien, despierta, mira que ya amaneció. Los pajaritos cantan, la luna ya se metió. See? Brings tears to her eyes too, JM. So I preach to you right now that you can have the courage to honor tradition in this Texas house where courage exists.
Please refrain from demonstrations in the gallery. The chair recognizes Mr. Harrison to speak against the motion. The chair recognizes Mr. Schatzline to speak against the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I want to first off say, if you have memorial resolutions that you truly care about that matter, I would ask you to resubmit them. But the problem is, today, on this calendar, we have that we're honoring Cecile Richards, who is president of Planned Parenthood, who is responsible for the death of 63.6 million babies. And I know that's an uncomfortable truth. And I'm doing my very best to speak with compassion when I say this, because what I understand to be true is that we are a pro-life state that has passed legislation that lines up with our biblical values that says life begins at conception, and that is why we protect the unborn in this state. And yet, we have the audacity as the Texas House to bring before a resolution that honors a woman that perpetuates the murder of children. Who will speak for the 63.6 million babies? We will. Who will stand in the gap? Because I get it. As a member, you're supposed to have a right. You're supposed to have a right to talk about those who have died in your district. Who's talking about the 63+ million babies who have died? Who's speaking? And you're right, I am. I don't know who said it, but you're right. And I'm going to keep talking about it. Because the reality is that if we don't speak about them, they will be forgotten. And that is how society declines. Society declines because we refuse to say the uncomfortable things. And that is that we have traded the value of life in our culture across our country for the convenience of saying, oh, that's not a child. It is. It is a child. Not only does our Bible say that it's a child, but science tells us that it's a child. And so today we stand in solidarity. And I'm asking if you are someone who believes in life in this chamber, I'm asking, will you vote no? Will you speak up for the 63.6 million babies who lost their life? Will you speak up by voting no on this calendar? Because, members, it's very simple. A yes vote to this calendar today is to silence the voices of those who have no voice. It's to silence the voices of those who were murdered senselessly.
Mr. Little, for what purpose?
Mr. Speaker, does the gentleman yield for questions?
Does the gentleman yield for questions?
Once I finish, I will.
Not at this time.
Members, if you want to honor Jill Glover today, you will vote no, because there is no better way to honor the life of that incredible woman than to take down this calendar. And I'm expecting it. Republicans, I know you in this chamber. I know many of you, you have fought for the pro-life cause. This is the easiest vote you will take. It's to stand up and be a voice for those who have no voice today. Yes, I'll yield for questions.
Mr. Speaker,
For what purpose?
does the
Mr.
gentleman
Little?
yield for
Does
questions?
the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes, I do.
He yields.
With great respect for my friend Representative Romero, I believe that tradition is too high a price to pay for my conscience. And I think you believe that too, don't you, Mr. Schatz?
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mr. Shaheen, for what purpose?
Does the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes, sir, I will.
The gentleman yields.
Mr. Schatzline, do you know how the memorial resolution works on the floor?
I do, and essentially what will happen is we have the option to register a no vote, but that no
Have
vote...
you ever done that before?
I have registered a no vote.
Okay, so what does it mean?
It means when you register a no vote, you can put it in the journal, but it cannot actually kill the resolution.
We're not asking to kill the resolution. I'm asking you if there's a line item on the memorial resolution that you don't agree with. And you gave a really nice speech about the pro-life movement.
I appreciate
and by
that.
the way, this body ended abortion in the state of Texas.
Well,
Okay,
I
so
would
the people-
venture
hold
to
on,
say-
sir.
no,
I have
no, no,
not.
no,
I
I'm
have
gonna
not
respond.
finished. I have
No,
not
I'll
finished
respond
asking
because
my
I'm gonna
question.
speak for every child.
Members will not speak over one
By
another.
the abortion
Mr.
pill
Speaker,
today.
I would.
Members will not speak over one another. The chamber needs to hear the discussion.
A reason, all the more reason of why
I would
what we're
like to
doing
ask my
matters.
question. Can I ask my question?
You may.
Or are you afraid of something?
Am I afraid of something?
So when a member
afraid that
registers,
babies
can I ask
are-
my question? Can I ask my question?
Okay, fair.
Yes or no?
Yeah, I got it.
Do you still yield for my question, sir?
I
Yes
do.
or no?
I do. Please proceed.
Okay. So when somebody registers a no on a line item on that memorial resolution, they are voting against that line item. I would say, sir, since you referenced the Bible talks about not deceiving individuals.
Agreed.
And I believe you are deceiving the public. You are trying to make people think that people understand.
I will. Mr. Sheen,
Sir?
can I respond?
Absolutely.
I believe you are deceiving the public because what you know to be true just as well as I do is that even if you register a no vote on that resolution still passes.
If it's the,
Is
put up to the
that
will of the
correct?
if it's put up to the will of the body,
But
it
is
depends
that
on the vote.
correct?
But if an individual puts a no by that resolution, they are publicly stating they
But
are
does the
against.
resolution
Sir,
still pass?
Sir, may I complete my question to
Please
you?
complete it.
Is it not true? If you put a no by an item on the resolution, that member is saying no to that resolution.
They're not
and
voting no.
doesn't it say in the journal, like when you've registered no's before, doesn't it say in the journal that that member is saying no to that line item? Yes or no?
It is not a vote because the resolution will still
Sir,
pass.
yes or no?
No.
Does it say in the journal when I'm going to put a no on the resolution, and many of the members are going to put a no on the Cecile Richards memorial, they are saying they are opposing that resolution. Yes or no?
I will answer your question. The resolution will still pass if you do that, Mr. Sheen.
Thank you,
I would
but
ask
that's
you to
not my
vote no.
question. Will it show in the journal? Like when you've put no in the journal before, what does it say? Does it not show in the journal that that member is saying no to that line item?
The resolution still passes if you do that.
Sir, one more time.
And
Here's
I'll
my
answer the same.
question.
I'll answer the same.
If you put no, does it not say in the journal that that
It is
member is
not a vote.
registering a no? I'm not saying whether it passes or not.
Oh, well, I'm
I'm
glad
saying,
you
does
acknowledge
it in
that.
the journal, when you've done it before and you've put no by memorial resolutions, did it not show in the journal?
I understand you want to register to no without voting no, but it does not actually kill the resolution.
Okay,
at
well,
hand.
remember what the Bible says about lying. It's actually one of the 10 Commandments
And
that's on.
And
the,
I would encourage you to
on
read
the,
that.
on the grounds of the Capitol.
I would encourage you to read that.
Ms. Slauson, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Absolutely.
Gentleman
Thank you,
yields.
Representative. You're aware that a couple of sessions ago we had several pro-life bills in this chamber, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that we did in fact ban abortion in Texas, correct?
I believe we banned many forms of abortion, but babies are still dying through the abortion pill.
And was that before you were in the chamber? Or
It was.
You were, okay. I understand the difficulty of this particular resolution calendar today, and I feel it personally, as many of you do. I also see on here, do you also see that there is a resolution honoring Corey Comparatori, who was assassinated in Pennsylvania?
I do,
at
and
Raleigh?
Yes, and I humbly ask that he would resubmit that resolution because someone needs to speak for the unborn.
And I don't disagree with resubmitting resolutions on here. You personally knew Ms. Glover, correct?
Yes.
I did not. Do I understand that you believe that it would honor her legacy to vote this calendar down today rather than have her and Ms.
Absolutely.
Richards on the same calendar?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Schofield, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield?
Will the gentleman yield?
Absolutely.
He yields.
Mr. Schatzline, we voted several dozen times in this chamber yesterday, did we not?
We did.
And when you pushed a button, now, when it turns out when I pushed a button to vote for SB2, I didn't vote because it didn't register. But when you pressed a vote, it actually registered a vote, and if there were more nays than ayes, the measure would not pass. Is that correct?
That's correct.
When we enter a no in the journal, it doesn't have the same effect as an actual no vote, does it?
Now, Representative Schofield, that's exactly my point. It doesn't. It will not kill the resolution. Even if every Republican registered a no, the resolution would still pass.
And in fact, we were told that the journal clerk could not take enough no votes to defeat a resolution on or the calendar. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
So while we're giving ourselves cover by voting no, and we're telling our people back home we voted no, we didn't actually vote no when we do that, did we?
That's correct.
So people can do what they want to do and what their conscience dictates, but we're not actually voting no if we register a no.
That's
The
correct.
gentleman's time has expired. The chair recognizes
Mr. Speaker, I
Ms.
respectfully
Johnson.
ask for an extension. One extension.
There is objection to the extension.
We can start doing that. If you guys want to start objecting to all extensions, we can start playing that game. Will I get an extension, Mr. Speaker?
The chair heard an objection.
Yeah, remember that, team.
A record vote has been requested on the extension of time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Members, vote aye for an extension of time. Vote nay against the extension of time. The clerk will ring the bell. Show Mr. Schatzline voting aye. Show Ms. Bowers voting aye. Show Ms. Johnson voting aye. Show Mr. King of Hemphill voting aye. Have all members voted? There being 141 ayes and 1 nay, the gentleman's time has been extended. Mr. Kinderholt, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Does the gentleman yield for questions? The gentleman yields for
I'd
questions.
first like to say thank you to my peers for that vote. Allowing us to speak is important, so thank you. So registering a no vote is saying, if I had the opportunity to vote, I would have voted no. Is that correct?
My mic's on. My mic's on. That's correct.
But it's not a real vote of no. Pushing a button is a true recorded no vote. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that is the only vote that will have implications on the passage of the resolution.
And so the only way to remove this egregious resolution or memorial or recognition is to, you know what, I would expect a little bit more respect from my peers. This is a pretty big topic. As a matter of fact, I talked to the author and went to her and we talked very kindly about it. I'm disappointed in some of my peers in the way they're acting, but some of them, it's not surprising. So here's the question. What we're doing is we're forcing a record vote to remove this so that we can honor the 60+ million innocent, unborn, defenseless children that were murdered in the U.S. The organization that did it, she was in charge of. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so you're forcing a record vote instead of a vote where you go on paper and you say, if I could have voted, I would have voted no, but we're not really voting.
That's correct, and I truly believe, Representative Tinderholt, we're going to be held accountable by the fact that what we said or refused to say in the face of this type of abhorrent evil.
So you are telling the truth. We had someone up here come earlier and try to make it out like you're lying. I don't think you're lying. I want a record vote. That's why we're fighting so hard for this. I've been here 10 years. I've recorded no votes more times than I count. but I wanted a formal vote to take this down. And my Democrat peers are in our back chastising and playing silly games. And you know what? It shows who some of them truly are. I want to vote on this, and I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you.
I want to push a button and say no.
I
So
want
thank
the
you.
same thing.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Money, for what purpose?
will the gentleman yield for a few questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes.
The gentleman yields for questions.
Mr. Schatzline, I have a few questions in case some people in the gallery or in the chamber or watching at home don't understand who Cecile Richards was. Are you aware that Ms. Richards was the president of Planned Parenthood from 2006 to 2018?
Yes, I am aware.
And Mr. Schatzline, what is Planned Parenthood?
Planned Parenthood is an organization that, in many ways, perpetuated the murdering of children.
Okay, it was and probably still is America's largest abortion provider. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And are you aware that during Cecile Richards' tenure as president of Planned Parenthood performed approximately 3,890,000 abortions nationwide based on their own annual reports and the Guttmacher Institute estimates?
I knew it was a large number. I was not aware of the exact number.
Are you aware that during Cecile Richards' tenure as president of Planned Parenthood, between 837,000 and 890,000 abortions were performed in Texas, according to Texas DSHS and Guttmacher Institute data?
I did not know it was that many, but yes, that's heartbreaking and really why we must vote this down.
Are you aware that Ms. Richards came under fire in 2011 for claiming, I believe on the Joy Behar show, that removing taxpayer funding for Planned Parenthood would deny mammogram access to women, despite the fact that Planned Parenthood does not provide any mammograms?
I was not aware of that.
And do you remember that in 2015, Planned Parenthood also came under fire for undercover videos that revealed it was illegally selling baby parts under Cecile Richards' leadership?
I was aware of that, and I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't mention it in my speech, but absolutely I was aware of that, and it is evil, it is disgusting, it is vile, and that's why we must vote no.
And it is criminal.
It is criminal.
Do you remember in 2016 when Texas officials, citing those undercover videos, accused Planned Parenthood's Texas affiliates of Medicaid fraud, alleging improper billing for abortion-related services? And are you aware that Richards, as the president of at that time, was implicated in these oversight failures, possibly leading to the end of her 12-year tenure?
Yes.
And do you remember in 2017, after she had stepped down, when undercover video that revealed that during her tenure as president, Planned Parenthood was pressuring women here in Texas to have abortions and denying them prenatal care?
Yes.
Now, I don't assume that just because she did all of these horrific things and was one of the nation's most vocal advocates for baby murder, that there aren't other things in her life that she may have done that would be worthy of honor and recognition in this chamber. But are you aware of any of those things?
The only thing I'm aware of is the things that we've talked about thus far.
And you were here earlier in the chamber when we were asking questions of the speaker, and he told us he has no power to take down this resolution, correct?
Yes, the onus is solely on us to vote this down.
And we also talked, I believe.
Well, can I correct that? The onus is solely on us, or if the speaker or the chair would like to go ahead and remove it. So it can go either way, but we're going to vote this down, I hope.
I believe what he said is that the speaker has no authority, but that the chairman of calendars could have done so. Is that correct?
That's information I'm hearing
And
right now.
I'm sorry, not the chairman of calendars. That's my mistake. The chairman of resolutions and local and consent.
Understood.
And that chairman is Jared Patterson, who is sitting on the dais behind you right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so he could have not brought this to committee, could have not voted it out of committee, and we wouldn't be dealing with this today. Is that correct?
I would hope that he wouldn't, and I hope that it gets pulled before we even have to vote.
I hope that he does as well. Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Little, for what purpose?
does the gentleman yield for questions?
Does the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes.
Representative
Gentleman yields.
Schatzline, I don't think that any member of this body Democrat or Republican, should be asked to drink a little bit of poison to their soul. If there is something in the calendar that is objectionable on any basis, no member of this House of Representatives should be required to vote the entire calendar up or down, Republican or Democrat. And I feel that this vote does damage to my soul if I have to vote this up or down, even regardless of registering a vote in the journal. And do you feel the same way?
Representative Little, I couldn't agree with you more. I actually think it does more damage than we're talking about. I think it damages not just the soul, but it damages the reputation of Texas. It damages the value of life. It damages the way that we view the unborn. It damages what we as the state of Texas allow to be codified into our law books or resolutions, that when we pass a resolution, what we're saying is we agree or we celebrate this person, this life, this initiative, fill in the blank. We do not, as the state of Texas, want to celebrate what was done by Cecile Richards.
Thank you, Representative Chesley.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Anchia, for what purpose?
will the gentleman yield for some questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
I will.
The gentleman yields for questions.
Representative Schatzline, you believe that abortion is murder, correct?
Correct.
You've said that, I think, repeatedly. You believe it is the killing of an unborn child, correct?
That's correct.
Do you and you have been very critical of Planned Parenthood. I haven't heard you talk about women who have abortions. Are they murderers?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Are women who have abortions murderers?
I think some of them unwillingly have committed murder.
Unwillingly?
Excuse me.
What if,
I'm sorry. I think many of them, yes, have committed murder.
So
and
you believe,
some of them, hold on, let me finish.
Yeah.
And some of them unknowingly have been tricked and deceived into believing that that life wasn't a life.
Okay.
Which is heartbreaking.
so
to
for
me.
women who have volitionally had murder,
But just for the
sorry,
record,
let
let's
me
keep the
finish my question.
Well, let's keep the conversation about the matters at hand.
These are the matters at hand because
Yep.
you've raised them.
Great.
And so, if you believe that abortion is murder, then you believe that the women who have the requisite mens rea, who have gone intentionally to have murder, have not been deceived, you believe they are murderers, correct?
Right now, I'm opposing an amendment that would honor a woman who oversaw the murder.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Mr. Harrison to speak against the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I'm going to do my best to remain calm, but it's hard for me to put into words how outraged I am about this amendment. And I think I speak on behalf of the millions of Texans who elected their governments to do what their government has done. This body, the Senate, the governor, lieutenant governor. Texas is a pro-life state. And my colleagues who have spoken before me have done a fantastic job articulating the laws we have passed that evidence the fact that Texas values life and is a pro-life state. But by putting this resolution to honor Planned Parenthood on today's calendar, this might represent one of the biggest betrayals of the voters of Texas that has ever occurred in this chamber. And I mean that. I mean it sincerely. The voters sent us to Texas to fight for the things that matter to them and to represent their values. Protecting innocent life might be one of the values that the voters of the state of Texas prioritize above all. But by putting this resolution to honor a Planned Parenthood president, not just the fact that we're doing it, but when we are doing it, says something about our priorities of this chamber that do not reflect the priorities of our voters. This resolution today is being taken up before we have done the things that do matter to our voters. We have not yet taken up a single bill to even discuss the elimination of property taxes. We're putting Planned Parenthood ahead of that. By putting this resolution today, we are putting Planned Parenthood ahead
Flores, for what
of
purpose?
ending the
Mr. Speaker, will the gentleman yield for questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Not at this time.
No, the gentleman does not yield for questions at this time.
By putting this resolution on our calendar today, we are honoring Planned Parenthood ahead of ending taxpayer-funded DEI. We are putting Planned Parenthood ahead of ending taxpayer-funded transgender ideology at our state agencies and our public universities. And I want to clarify something that was made because there were some grotesque misrepresentations that happened on that microphone. They need to be cleared up. There is only one way to vote for or against this resolution, and that's to push the little button on your desk. And so when this comes up, you only have one option. And let me be very clear. If you push the little green button that has the word yes under it, if you push the button yes, and your name on that board lights up green, you are honoring Planned Parenthood, and you are honoring the president of Planned Parenthood, and you are doing that irrespective of any notation that you make in the journal. Notations in the journal have nothing to do with your votes. They cannot change a vote, not at this time. There are going to be some
Ms.
good
Flores,
not,
for
not
what
at this
purpose?
time. I'm going to wrap up.
Will the
guys.
gentleman yield for questions?
Not at this time,
The gentleman
respectfully.
yield at this time.
There are some good things on today's calendar that will die if enough of us vote no, as we should all do. There are some things that I wanted to vote yes for, and I'm sure there are things you want to vote yes for. But I want to be very clear about when those things die today, as they should. The people responsible for them not passing are not those of us who want to protect the honor of the unborn and stop a resolution from honoring Planned Parenthood. The people responsible for good things on today's calendar not passing are the leadership of this body. And that is where you should have fixed your blame. And I'm going to just close by saying, this is a disgrace to this body. This is a disgrace to this chamber. And Speaker Burrows, shame on you for letting this happen. And
Ms.
Chairman
Flores, for
Patterson,
what
shame
purpose?
on
Does the gentleman
you.
yield for a question?
Does the gentleman yield for questions?
I will yield.
Thank you.
The gentleman yields for questions.
Are you aware that women like me, as a college student, who, after I graduated from college and worked at this Capitol and was earning very little money, needed health services and appointments to make sure that I got my well women exams, and then Planned Parenthood offered sliding scale medical services, not abortion services, just checks for women and any other medical issues that they might have and couldn't afford necessarily to go to the doctor. Are you aware of that?
Your personal story and testimony is both fascinating and compelling.
I asked a question.
Well,
Are you?
I'm going to answer it as
Okay.
respectfully as I possibly can. I'm trying to be respectful given the subject matter that you just placed before the body. But with all the respect in the world, that has absolutely nothing to do with the motion that is before the body. The motion that is before the body is to whether we take up and pass a resolution to honor a president of Planned Parenthood. That is the only thing that I am talking about today.
Are you aware that we are honoring a person, not a title or an organization?
If you're asking...
That Cecile Richards actually was a labor organizer and helped people organize so that they could get fair wages in their work, and that she did other good things as well in her life. And we are not honoring her title or the organization. We are honoring Cecile Richards, who was a personal friend to many of us, and a person who lived a good life, was a mother, a friend, and also a labor organizer that we respect.
If you are asking if I am aware that the president of Planned Parenthood, Cecile Richards, was a living, breathing human being, I am of course aware of that. But I am also aware of the untold babies who were also human beings that died at her hand, and as a direct result of the actions and the work that her lifetime represents. And over my dead body will this body take the time and effort and energy and resources to honor her, ahead of doing something that our constituents do not want us to do at all, but certainly not ahead of doing the things that they sent us here to do.
Are you
And if you read the caption in the calendar itself, the calendar that was set that we're voting on, it says that this is a resolution to honor, and the calendar describes it, and I quote, a former president of Planned Parenthood.
Well, I'll ask one last question. As I said, as a young woman, I went to get well woman exams at Planned Parenthood at affordable prices, and I know that there are countless of other women who are not able to afford medical services and use Planned Parenthood clinics to make sure that they could detect cancer and other things, life-threatening things that Planned Parenthood helped them find and help them with their medical issues. And so I just want to say that for all of what you have said, there are lots and lots and millions of women probably whose lives have been impacted by the medical services that they provided. So I just wanted to know if you were aware of that, but I know that there were other women like me who have utilized the services of Planned Parenthood, had nothing to do with abortion, and that their lives were positively impacted
And
by
I believe
that.
I can speak for everybody standing up here that we want every woman to have the health care that they need. That's got nothing to do with the motion before the body. We should not be honoring Planned Parenthood. And just in closing, guys, I want to be really clear, especially to my colleagues on my side of the aisle who were engaged in deception back there. If you push the yes button and your name lights up green, if you vote yes on this resolution, I want to say in the most unequivocal of all terms, you are voting to honor
Mr. Canales,
Planned
for what
Parenthood.
purpose?
The gentleman yield for one question.
Does the gentleman yield for a question?
Absolutely.
Are you aware that by having spent the amount of time that you've spent up there, you've actually honored Cecile? Thank you.
Members,
One of the most nonsensical comments I've ever heard made on the floor of this body.
the chair recognizes Representative Johnson to speak in favor of the motion.
Zanetta Burney was from 3rd Ward. She got her GED. She went to TSU and became a lawyer. She made sure that folks got legal aid in Acres homes. She was one of the first female African-American judges. And when I was a baby prosecutor, in Court 2, she was a retired visiting judge. Don't. When you're in the courthouse in criminal cases, things are tough and they are raw. You see some of the worst facts ever. And sometimes when I see some of the most challenging cases or defendants,
Members, please take your conversations outside the rail.
I am reminded that my oath as a lawyer, is to uphold the Constitution, to not go into the sewer to chase a really bad defendant, because it is more important to uphold the promise of the Constitution and our people in some of those toughest times. She taught me that. Joe, I didn't know I'd see her face today. I think about the oath that we took when we got here in January. I think about the doors that we knock on in the campaign. I think about the political rhetoric. I think about the Twitter wars. But I think about the oath that we took to serve all Texans. One of the few things that we get to do that doesn't have anything to do with politics is a memorial resolution. And Richard Raymond and Pat Curry are honoring Corey D. Comparator of Sarver, Pennsylvania, as stated earlier today, a firefighter who died in the assassination attempt on Trump. Sheriff Louderback is honoring Sister Emily Eilers of Victoria, a nun who started at Holy Cross School and over decades to St. Joseph High School. That makes me think about the nuns I knew at Mount Carmel High School, where I went to high school. Andy, you're honoring Jill Glover. I didn't know Jill Glover, but I know many of you do. And she's important to you. And that's what this list is. This list represents the diversity of Texans that we all represent. And the fact for a lot of us, they're friends. It's a memorial calendar. It's a memorial calendar for the Texas House of Representatives. This should be and must be the least political thing we do today. I know that some of our colleagues have done everything they can to drag us down that ditch, to make this about an issue, and it's not. It's about one of the most beautiful and simple things that we get to do when we took the oath of office, which is to represent every Texan in our district. Because we are not supposed to pick and choose between Texans at this point. This morning, Scott asked us as we enter into Easter weekend, would you die for me? For this 150, would you die for me? This vote is about this body. This vote is truly about this institution. It's not about politics. I respect each and every person's politics. This is about the beauty of coming together and recognizing and acknowledging death and every Texan. Don't pick and choose. Pick to take this vote together to honor the entire calendar.
The House will stand at ease until 12:15 p.m. The House will come to order. The chair recognizes Mr. Guerin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I withdraw my motion on the memorial calendar.
The motion is withdrawn.